In this video, we're going to be looking at finding the percent of a number. So what you need to do is change your percent into a decimal by moving the decimal 2 places to the left. If you have a fraction, you have to first change that fraction into a decimal and then move it. You're going to multiply your decimal by the total because the word of means multiply. Alright, so we have quite a few examples, but they go pretty quick. So we're going to do 40% of 70. So right now there's a decimal at the end of this, so I have to move it 2 spots to the left. So really it's 0.40 times 70. So if I multiply 0.40 times 70, that gives me 28. Alright, if on this one it's just 5%, so I move it 2 spots, there's an empty space, so I fill that in with zeros. So 0.05 times 130. And if I multiply those together, that gives me 6.5. Alright, on this one, there's an imaginary decimal next to the 0. So when I move that 2 spots, it doesn't end up on the end, which is fine, because you always have to move it 2 spots. So it's going to be 1.2 times 30 this time, which gives us 36. Alright, so another one where it's not going to move to the end, since there's 3 of them, it's going to go between the 1 and the 5. So 1.5 times 20 gives us 30. Alright, so on this one we have a fraction, so we're going to change this to 5.5% first, and then move it 2 spots. Okay, a common mistake on this one is as soon as they change it, they're like, oh, now I have a decimal, so I'm just going to multiply. Make sure once you change it to a decimal, you still multiply, or move the decimal. So once we move it twice, we're actually multiplying 0.0055 times 60. So this gives me 3.3. Alright, and then on this one we have 0.28%. So again, a common mistake on this one is since people already see a decimal, they'll just do 0.28 times 50. But because of this percent sign here, it tells us we still have to move the decimal 2 spots. So we are going to get a pretty small number, but that is okay. So 0.0028 times 50 is 0.14. Okay, so you always move it twice. It's not always, or if there's empty spots, you fill it with zeros. It's not always going to end up at the end of the line. If you have fractions, change it to a decimal and then still move the decimal 2 spots. If you see a decimal, make sure that you still move it 2 spots before you do your multiplication. Alright, so a word problem example, let's do this one together. So it says, in a recent year, 17.7% of households watched the finals of a popular reality series. There are 110.2 million households in the United States. How many of the households watch the finals? So even right here, it says the word of in there. So that tells us that we need to use multiplication. So if I rewrite this out, 17.7 of 110.2 million. And I know it says million, and I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm not going to change my 110.2 into millions by adding all these zeros. I'm going to multiply by 110.2. I just have to make sure that million gets into my final answer. Alright, so this should be percent. So I still move it 2 spots, so I have 0.177 times 110.2. So when I multiply those together, it gives me 19.5. And then, like I said, it's not just 19.5 households, it's 19.5 million households. So make sure that word million gets in there. So it makes it nice that you don't have to worry about it in the multiplication step. It just has to go into the final answer. Alright, so we have 4 examples for you. So go ahead and pause the video and try these 3, or 4, sorry, the 3 on the top and the word problem on your own. Alright, so I'm going to move this decimal. So this gives me 0.14 times 84. If I multiply those together, that's 11.76. And then I'm going to take my second one. I'm going to move this 2 spots. So it's 2.62 times 46 this time. So I multiply that together, and that gives me 101.2. Alright, and then this one, even though I see the decimal, I still have to move it 2 spots. So really I'm multiplying by 0.0045 times the 8, and it's going to give me a very small number. Since 8 is already small, it's going to be 0.036. All right, so last one. At the craft store, Tom bought a bag of orange and red marbles. The bag contained 60 marbles in total, and 70% of them were orange. How many orange marbles did he receive? So again, we even see the word of here. So we want 70% of the marbles, and there were 60 marbles. So there's my problem. It looks exactly like the 3 on top. So I'm going to change it, move it 2 spots. So that's 0.70 times 60. And when I multiply those together, that gives me 42 marbles. Okay, if you label this orange marbles, that's fine. We'll know that you meant orange because it says how many orange marbles are there. All right, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.